test Indian clubs before you buy them? Now, this is a question that I've been asked a lot, and basically, often the question comes into me saying, well, what are all these clubs here? What are they all for? And what's their purpose? And you might be surprised to find out that this is basically the story of my journey with Indian clubs and learning about them, finding out about them, and many of them are mistakes, if you like, where I've tried to make a club with a certain type of fitting, I wanted to try it out, and so on. So I thought I'd put together an article, which is the second one in a series of basically starting with Indian clubs. The first one was which size Indian club should I buy first? And this is number 2, which is how to test Indian clubs before you buy them. And there are 3 very basic tests that I've worked out that I look at when I look at a pair of clubs. This is what I want to find in them. And I'm going to go through now and explain this and go through the 3 exercises, the tests that you can run. One is called the resistance test, the second one is called the swing test, and the third one is the length test, testing the length of the club. And as you would have seen in the intro, I'm using 3 different types of clubs. So I've gone basically, to give you a good idea about this, I've gone for a very short club, a very light one, which is the smallest one. Then my favorite, which is the medium-sized club, and the large club at the end, which is the heavy club. And so let's get into these tests. And before we go any further, you may like to download the ebook that I've just produced about this, which describes each test in detail. You can download it, subscribe first, and then you'll get an email with the download link to the ebook that I've just produced. The first test I want to talk about is the resistance test. And the first I'm going to give you a demonstration of why it's important. The resistance test basically happens from the largest circle, which is this one here, which can go outward and inward. Now, I'm going to stop here. This is the point where you are at greatest resistance. This club here is 2.5 pounds, and I can really feel the pressure here on my shoulder right now and on my wrist. So basically, my arm is loaded. It is also loaded here. So when it's across the body. So now if I do the circle again, you can see loaded here and loaded here. Fully loaded. And regardless of which way the circle goes, it's loaded. And the resistance test, the idea behind it is to make sure that you've got a club that you can hold out in this position. Because as you advance an Indian club swing, you'll first probably learn how to do the heart-shaped swing, which starts like this and does a circle at the back. And if you've been to my Indian Club Academy site, you'll have learned how to do this. Further on, as things get more complicated, you'll also do things like this, where you swing and make a circle here. Circle there, circle there. So the club can't be too heavy for you. That's what the resistance test is all about. So with the swing test is in some ways quite similar, but there are differences, because with the swing test, the whole idea is that you swing the club through the circle and you should be able to maintain a nice even swing as the club moves through. And basically is to make sure that you can handle that. So basically you've got the hand strength to handle it, and that you're not feeling uncomfortable, because if the club is too heavy, then you're going to find discomfort, and it's going to be very difficult to do some of the more complex exercises. So that's the swing test. For the length test, you'll see that there's a couple of variations of it. One is that we lay the club from here down to here. And the second one is the clubs go here, they touch together at the top and drop behind here. And basically the first thing is that the reason for the length test is that you want to avoid the clubs knocking each other at the back, and especially when you're first starting. It can happen, you can bring the clubs in a little bit too close together and they'll cross and they'll knock, and then you can knock the back of your head, and we want to avoid that at all possible costs. So the length is of prime importance. And the second reason for the length test is that you may have noticed in the intro that with the heavy clubs I couldn't elevate them enough. And with the length test, the longer the club is and the heavier it is, my arm is going to go out to the side more, and I'm looking for elevation and a stretch out to the top here. So that's the length test briefly. That is a brief description.